Tuesday. It's been quite the busy Tuesday for me. I think tonight we're going to try something new. I think I'm going to introduce a new segment. I'm calling it On the Patio. Welcome to the patio. Here on the patio, in the future, from time to time, we're going to sit down and discuss some things that have been on my mind. Oh, it could possibly be something with travel that's upcoming, or a project that's underway, or a project I'm thinking about. Could be anything that's topical to me at the moment. Could even be something that's topical in the news. But today, to start out on the first episode of On the Patio, I thought we'd begin with something that I've been struggling with the past 2 weeks, and that would be where to go shoot more footage, more stock photo footage, to be precise. I live here in Florida. Landscape is limited. If you're a wildlife photographer, then this is probably a great environment for you. And if you're a landscape photographer, probably not too much, unless you really are super focused, hyper focused on beach photography. Because I mean, I have plenty of sunsets and sunrises over the ocean and on the bay, and plenty of different bridges, and even found quite a few lighthouses. Unfortunately, Florida doesn't have the best looking lighthouses, so it was really limited on shooting that. But what I've been struggling with lately is just actually finding a subject that I would be happy with. It came to mind not too long ago that I wanted to try to shoot some, your little small fishing village town type setups. And I got on Google and started thinking of all the little towns here in Florida where, there's a lot of fishing going on. And it's actually one really close to me. I'm right next to Tarpon Springs. And unfortunately, Tarpon Springs is more of a tourist trap than a fishing town now. So there's nothing really historic or pretty or even good looking, as far as I'm concerned, to film there. Some of the other choices are up along the eastern seaboard, and after checking them out, really the problem is most of them have become what you would call these industrial fishing towns, where it's mostly factories on the water, and they got rid of all the cute little bait huts and right out of the ocean restaurants. So it's more factory driven. Boats pull up, they drop they catch a day off, and out they go. So I've really been struggling with something to find to shoot. Like I mentioned the other day, I was thinking about going out to the Kennedy Space Center and possibly doing some aviation photography, but unless there's a launch, it's really it's too static. You got rockets in the rocket garden, and you got the one standalone shuttle that's sitting there, and it's really, like I said, for me, just too static. There's no competition, there's no challenge. That's a better word. There's no challenge to taking those photos. The subject matter is stunning. They're rockets from our past and the space shuttle. It's interesting subject matter, but it's just way too static and too, dry for me. So I've been, beating myself up over the fact that it's been 2 weeks now that I haven't gone out, simply because I can't think of anything to, go out and shoot. It's been a horrible dry spell. It's just, I can see why so many photographers are constantly traveling and moving. Just that change of scenery is inspirational. I mean, I can probably find the same things that I've already shot, but in different locations that would be super exciting to me compared to, looking around here in my own area. So that has been my recent struggle. I believe I did come up with a good idea, and again, that just ran into all kinds of issues as well. I want to get some, the type of under the wooden boardwalk shots of the ocean rolling up and hitting the pylons. I think I can do a really, excellent looking long exposure. So I started Googling, long piers, Florida, and there's about half a dozen, maybe 8 of them. The only issue being, again, most of them have been converted. since we have such severe hurricane seasons and high tides that are brutal, the majority, I'd say 6 of the 8, have already been converted to concrete pillars. So looks like your highway overpass underneath the boardwalk. Nothing special, nothing to capture there. So there are, I believe, 2 other boardwalks that are still wooden. Well, I know one for sure is in Daytona Beach, which is about 3 hours from here. And just as an FYI, I usually travel between 1.5 to 3 hours for any pictures that I take for my stock photo profile, simply because my area is really just beach intensive, and theme park. And I mean, that's actually on my list. I have to go get a bunch of good theme park shots, but they're really just editorial, so there's not a lot of money to be made on them. Anyway, getting back to the point I was making, I did find that the Daytona Beach Pier is still a wooden pier. At last check, I will actually call before heading out there, since it is a 3-hour and 10-minute drive. Then the other pier I found is about 2 hours and 3/4 away in Sanibel Island, but I've gotten conflicting information. I see pictures online where it was a wooden pier with wooden pylons underneath, and then I'm seeing pictures that the pier was destroyed in the last year or so, and it's been replaced with concrete pillars. So I'm going to have to get in touch with the Parks Department over there, which is harder than it sounds. For some reason, those park rangers never like to answer their phone. And find out if it still is a wooden pier, because if it is, then it's a renovated wooden pier and it's going to look really nice. But my guess would be the most intelligent thing would be to change it to concrete. I think it remains wooden in Daytona, just out of the nostalgia of Daytona Beach, and you could drive on the beach, and that is probably the last big tourist draw for that particular beach, that you can A, drive on it, and B, it has an actual under the boardwalk wooden pylon boardwalk. So I'm pretty confident. I'll call the hotel that's right in front of it, and they'll be able to tell me, but I'm almost 100% sure that that particular beach still has a wooden boardwalk for me to photograph. So keeping my fingers crossed. That will be this weekend, which will be the first Saturday in, God, I want to say 3 weeks. This will be week 3. If I don't go out this week, it'll be 3 weeks. I didn't add anything to my portfolio online, and that's really super counterproductive to my goal of reaching 1,000 photos in there by the end of the year. Because we're already in October, November, December. I only have 100. That's 10 times that. So I never give up on my goals, but that's going to be increasingly more difficult if I don't keep getting out every single weekend. So my goal is to do the research, call the 2 piers, make sure one of them is wooden, and then get out there. But for me, I'm starting to see where you must travel a lot in order to start filling up that portfolio with like 1,000 different images. There's maybe another 100 I can think of I can possibly get here in the state I live in that would be interesting enough for me to want to go shoot, and topical enough to actually be able to sell. I mean, I like photography. I actually love photography. I love videography. I love photography, but I'm doing it to make money, so it's an income stream. So therefore, it's got to be less love and more business when I do it. So, like I said, there's probably thousands of images I can capture here in Florida, but there's not thousands of images that are going to sell, and definitely not thousands of images that I'm going to be able to claim as my own unique intellectual property and sell. So, I'm quickly realizing why in the photography world you must always be on the move. Unless you're a portrait photographer where a lot of your work comes to you, or you're doing local events like, weddings and birthdays and stuff like that. But again, I'm not a portrait photographer by any means. I'm definitely not good enough, and I'm really not comfortable with that. I have no problem having models and, in my subjects when I take photos and, working with them. But as far as being a portrait photographer, just strictly really working with people more than anything, I can't see that being something that would actually I'd be able to gravitate to. Never saying never, because I never do. I actually know there's probably much more money to be made in portrait photography, especially here in Florida. There's a million graduations and birthdays and 50th wedding anniversaries and unique weddings. I mean, a lot. I'm sure there is a heck of a lot of portrait work. But, you know, that takes a lot of time and dedication, working with the clients. That I don't have currently, and I'm not sure I'd be comfortable with that. I mean, I'm a bit of a jerk myself, so I can see people being super picky, and I think both of us doing that is going to make it almost close to impossible to have a meeting of the minds, which is definitely necessary in portrait photography. So I'll stick to what I can do. I can do editorial work. I can do, you know, unique landscapes. I can do unique travel photography. And I definitely love to do topical items. Like, we're heading into the Halloween season. So, you know, like I started a month ago or a month and a half ago, cemeteries. I'm definitely looking for another cemetery. I actually may plan just a weekend trip to Louisiana. It's only about 12 hours. And I mean, they have the most awesome cemeteries, so it would definitely be worth my time. I'm not a big New Orleans Bourbon Street fan, but New Orleans has all the good cemeteries. So thinking maybe next weekend, not this one coming, but the weekend of like the 14th of October, right out there on a Saturday or Friday night, and stay overnight and, you know, spend a whole day and evening in the cemetery. That excites me. That, you know, that just the concept of that gets me going. So, you know I've become too hypercritical of my own home state, and that's why I think it's probably going to be best that I do this next project with the pier, and then wrap it up and move on to somewhere else for a while, so I can get re-inspired by my state. My state's very inspiring if you're in the summer mode. I mean, beaches, sunsets, anything to do with the ocean, boats, you name it, we got it, you know. But outside of that season, it's super limited. Like I said last time, I was looking for a hill to do a landscape. There are 2 hills in Florida, 2 hills. One of them is really just a mound of dirt that they call a hill, and the other one is a road that dips a hell of a lot, so they call the top of that a hill. And both of them are completely in the middle of nowhere, uninspiring, not even a rock to put in the foreground. So, hill idea out. Gonna have to roll up to the Carolinas or Georgia minimum to get some hills. And that's not too far, that's like 3 hours from here also. But, you know, like I said, I'm gonna have to get on the road, and I've just accepted that. So it's gonna be 1,000 images in there by the end of the year, or as damn close as I can possibly get. So, I hope you've enjoyed our little chat. It's been very good for me. It's helped me work out a lot of things in my head. It's helped me get a clear idea going forward, what I need to do and what I want to do with my photography. If you guys like this kind of thing, put it in the comments down below. Subscribe, that button's down there. Like it, thumbs up, always appreciate those. Feels good to know that you guys like what I'm doing. If you have any ideas or something you'd like to see me photograph, by all means, please put that in the comments down below. I could use the ideas and inspiration, and I would be more than happy to show you how they come out. If there's something super unique in your area or town or country, wherever you may happen to be, please let me know about it. You can send me a photo or a description or a Google link to it, because I'm making plans for a big photography trip after May, and I'll put your town on the list and come see you. Maybe we'll go have a drink or some coffee or something together. But this is the end of the first episode of On the Patio. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. Again, my fans, comment, like, subscribe. Love ya. And see y'all tomorrow for a regular on the road video. Have a great evening.